So what we did is that we actually put together a cover-to-cover proposal for your consideration. And Tom, if you could go ahead and hand that out. And the proposal consists of some things that we've already TA'd. Actually, it includes all the things that we TA'd. Includes some of the proposals that we previously put on the table and some things that we have not put on the table. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm just going to walk you through our proposals. So the first, yeah, I was just waiting to looking to grab something.
All right, I'm ready, thank you.
All right, so the preamble was is the article that we agreed to on December 10th of 18. Article 1 recognition, we agreed to that on December 28th of 18. Article 2 is the discrimination that we agreed to on November 10. Article 3, work stoppages, is what we agreed to on December 10. Article 4, personnel records, is what we proposed to you on December 10 of 2018. The severability clause, that's Article 5, that's what we agreed to on December 10. Bulletin boards, Article 6, it's what we proposed to you on December 10. Dues deduction, Article 7, is what we proposed to you on December 10. Article 8, seniority. It is a slight modification from what we presented to you on January 25. We just corrected some of the titles, and we actually took out the list of bargaining unit positions and just said anybody in that bargaining unit position. Article 9, rules and regulations, that's new. Most of that came out of the sheriff's office contract, some of it, a little bit of it came out of the beach contract. Okay. Article 10, and are you okay with me kind of doing it like this, or? I assume you all are gonna look at this a little bit more in depth, and then, if you have questions, or however you'd like to handle it from there. Article 10, union business, it's what we agreed to on 12/28/18, with one exception. In 10.01, that third line where it says corrections director, I think.
It used to have another title that we don't even have anymore.
Right, so we corrected the title.
We
on that
corrected,
one.
so it goes to Flowers' position.
Otherwise, you'd be objecting to grievances as failing to comply with the grievance procedure.
So we corrected that.
Article 11, individual rights, it's the one that, my notes said we tentatively TA'd, which I'm not really sure what that means, but it's the same one that we had discussed back in December. The grievance and arbitration procedure, it is modeled after the sheriff's office. Grievance and arbitration procedure.
95% model?
Probably 99%. I mean, it's not that far off.
Pretty good.
And actually, it's the one the beach, the evac has. It's actually the one. And actually, procedure that the beach does follow too. They don't have it in their agreement, but they follow that procedure.
Article 13, manager rights, we picked that from the sheriff's office. Article 14, hours of work and overtime. Bargaining employees to assign shifts to work no more than 12 hours plus the shift briefing time, and we're proposing to take the overtime threshold down from 86 to 84. Now, let's just stop there and talk for a minute, because you all made it very clear at the bargaining table that your goal was to get to 80. And I don't want you to think for a moment that we ignored that. In fact, we did cost it out. We presented all of the information to the elected officials, and the costing of going to the 80 hours is about, with benefits, it's about $500,000 a year. So basically what we'd be talking about is adding $1.5 million to the contract over the course of the 3 years. And when we get to the wages, I'll talk a little bit more about the elected official's position with respect to the financial situation. But at the end of the day, it's something that we looked at. We understand the argument that you've made with respect to the parity between you all and the deputies, and I guess the other comparator would be the beach.
All the other divisions.
Well, when you say all the other divisions, keep something in mind, is that you have 3 divisions, you have 4 divisions in the county that are subject to the 7K exemption. So everybody else, we have no choice, we have to pay after the 40. So out of that, fire gets overtime after 159 in a 21-day cycle. And I don't think anybody here would argue that the firefighters, because of their schedule, would be comparators. So what we're talking about is the SO and then beach. We're the only other ones that are subject to the 7K, so it's the 3 of you. And yes, you're correct. And I don't want to, I don't want you to walk away. You might not agree with what I say, but I've always said that, we're gonna go back and we're gonna look at it, and we're gonna take, present it fairly. And we presented it to the elected officials and presented all of the arguments, and nobody turned around and said, you know what? Those folks are jerks, we don't like them, they don't deserve it. The conversation was never along those lines. Understand the argument. It boils down to pure finances. And we went ahead and put on the table the 84 hours, which is going to cost us about $450,000 over the course of the 3 years. And when we talk about the wage package as well, when the elected officials looked at this, we looked at the cost of those 2 components, because those are really the 2 cost drivers of all of this. So I thought I owed you that explanation with respect to that.
You guys have a concern about the 84 hours, Rich. I'm sorry, sir.
No.
Matt, did you want to speak to that?
Sure. In the Employee Recognition Committee meetings that they were having,
Yeah.
it was told that if we went to an 84-hour work week, that they were going to be doing away with our staff briefings. Is that still?
And I wish Mark Flowers was here. The last time I talked about it, he said that he wants to keep the
Scheduled same.
schedule the same.
Okay.
And so in fact, when we costed this out, we're anticipating the cost of what is now going to amount to built-in overtime, 1.75 hours of overtime every 2 weeks. So
Okay.
we are anticipating that going forward.
And the goal would be to get us to the 80 eventually?
Possibly. The thing is that, here's the thing that I don't want to do, because it's not fair to you and it's not fair to the county. I don't want to turn around and say that, hey, the next contract, we're going to come and put 80 on the table, because I have no earthly idea what the circumstances are. Look, maybe the money's there and it's great and we can do it. Maybe by that time, the sheriff's office or beach will be at 84. There are too many unknowns. So all I can really talk to is what the elected officials have approve me coming back to you for the life of this contract. But obviously, look, we all know how this process works, is that come the next contract, you are gonna walk in and you're gonna say, we want, now, okay, we're at 84, thank you very much, we want to go to 80. And we fully expect that. Article 15, leave of absence. This is status quo out of the merit rules.
Does this address bereavement leave?
Bereavement is next, Article 16.
Okay.
Yeah. Article 16, bereavement leave. We took this as from the
This
Six.
is pretty much merit rules.
Well, 6.01, well, this is the merit rules, plus
And the back.
1601 is from the SO, and 16.02 is from the EVAC.
Right.
But this is consistent with the merit rules.
Yeah, we proposed it under that, I think we said go ahead.
Okay.
I think this last time said insurance, and we've now changed to group health. Remember what you just said?
Right.
I think we talked about that at the table even.
Yeah, so Article 17 is what we presented to you on December 10, we changed it to group health, because I forget what the term was that we had before.
Yeah, hospital.
Hospital is a, you know, so, a kind of an antiquated term, and so we
It's really
changed it.
group health. That's what we've been putting in all the others. We've been updating it in the others.
Okay, so let's turn our attention then to wages. So what we did with respect to wages is that we started with obviously doing the market comparables. But putting that aside, one of the things that we've heard a lot of is that folks are leaving us in Seminole County. So what we decided to do is that, putting aside what the market may be when you're including Putnam and Orange and Lake and Flagler, let's try to get to Seminole County. And so the basic premise of the plan that we put together was to bring you in parity with Seminole County, as well as the Volusia County Corrections Deputy by the third year of the contract. And for purposes of our methodology, we assumed that Seminole County was gonna do 3% a year. And we assumed that with respect to the deputies, that they were gonna do 4, 3, and 3. Now, obviously, none of us knows what those folks are gonna do, but we didn't think that was right to assume that they were gonna be static. Obviously, they're gonna move. So those were the assumptions that we used. And so by the third year of the contract, the start for the deputies will be $20.25. We have Seminole with the 3% at $20.05, so you'd be 20 cents an hour start over Seminole County start. And we have the, you within a penny of the sheriff's deputies. So that's the methodology that we use. And to get to where we could be in parity with Seminole and with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, we are moving the MINS 5% a year for the corrections officers and 7.5% a year for the corrections sergeants. Now, one of the things that apparently occurred, and I guess you all had alluded to the fact that when we did the compression study last time, there were a whole bunch of folks that got left out of it. And when we sat down to try to figure out why it was that the methodology that we used, because it was the same methodology that we had used for the SO, worked so much different, what became clear to us was because of the senior corrections officer and the fact that we were treating the senior corrections officer for purposes of the compression analysis as a separate classification, which kind of is how we're doing it right now. So when we did the methodology last time and we credited the years of service for purposes of the compression increases, somebody might have been with the county for 15 years as a CO, but had just been in as a senior for 1 year. That person got 1 year of credit instead of getting the 15. So we said, what can we do to address this issue? And as we're looking at it, we have this, what we call this classification of senior corrections officer. And we speak in terms of promoting into it, but it's not really a promotion. You know, we don't do a competitive process. Once you reach the qualifications, you become a senior. So what we did is that we said, look, let's move away from this fiction of having a true senior corrections officer classification and instead do it as an assignment pay. So what our proposal is that for everybody that currently is senior and has their 5%, they continue to get their 5%. And moving forward, anybody that meets the qualifications for the senior corrections officer, we'll give them the 5%. So we're not proposing to change anything with respect to the amount of money or the qualifications for the senior. We're just not gonna call it a separate classification anymore. And what that did was allow us then, when we did the compression analysis, to go ahead and treat the senior corrections officers as corrections officers for purposes of year of service. So to go back to day one. So if you've been 15 years as a corrections officer plus a senior corrections officer, you get credit with 15 years for purposes of the compression analysis, as opposed to kind of separating it out. And hopefully that resolves the issue that we ended up with last time when we tried to do the compression. So that was basically the methodology that we used in this analysis. And then we used the same type of compression adjustments that we did for the deputies. The only significant difference is that in the corrections deputies on the compression in that contract, we spread it out over multiple years. On this one, we're front-loading all of it. So this way, our intent was to get you all of the compression money in that first year of the contract. So
the deputies, so you'll realize, got senior too, but theirs is an assignment. That's why their dates were different. They were not promotions, because a promotion changes that date. So if we turn these back and say, it's not a promotion, it's an assignment, you'll move your date back. Keep your CF, you keep your designation, it's going to be an assignment. And that will allow the compression to work the same way as it did with them and with the fire. Because the fires is not a promotion either. It's an assignment. Their senior folks are assignments. That's why their dates were all different. And that's why their compression was higher.
now, what we did is that we have an Appendix A here, multiple pages. And what it does is it gives the various examples of how people would receive increases through the course of this contract. But what we also do, and recognizing that at the end of the day, you're most concerned with how this impacts you individually, we have these giant spreadsheets.
Can I spread some in the audience?
Yeah, take as many as you need. And so basically, that will show under our proposal what you would move to each year of the fiscal, of the contract, all 3 years.
Just give me one back.
Yeah, I will.
Scrapped it. Put one back in.
We'll show you how, go through it, tell you how to read it. Don't forget, Angela and Kip
No. See what he says of this. Bring it up. I'll keep that for, Kristen.
So, here's the, with respect to the proposal that we put together, the implementation cost on the wage proposal is $2 million with benefits over the course of the 3 years. It's mostly front-loaded. About $940,000 of that is in the first year. We actually came up with this plan. HR and Corrections and County Administration came up with the plan, and we took it to the elected officials to sell it to them. And I have to be honest with you, the numbers were a hard sell. Not the amount going to you. I don't want to suggest to you that anybody took the position that we don't think you all deserve pay increases. But the overall numbers were a very hard sell. Going into this budget year, we have a $1.3 million hole that we already have to make up for. And the increases that we're looking to provide, both the pay increases and that move to 84, is $400,000 over the budget projections. And in coming up with this plan, one of the things that the elected officials and even county administration was most concerned about was the third year of this contract. And so in the third year of the contract, we, the county, we have to take over driver's licenses from the state. So we have to come up with the money to pay for that. We also have, what is it, like $3.5 million, the payment that we have for Sunrail.
$7 million.
$7 million payment. Plus the potential impact of Amendment 10 with the constitutional officers being separate entities. So the third year of this contract is a somewhat scary year for the elected officials from a budget standpoint. So I just want to let you know that this was a tough sell from the standpoint of the overall dollars.
Care to release the figure on what it was? Over 3 years, total up?
Oh, yeah, no, it's over $2 million.
Okay.
Yeah, it's over $2 million.
That does include going to 84 as well, just wages.
That was, yeah, the $2 million was just wages. And the thing is, and it's front-loaded, $934,000 of that is the first year. So it's heavily weighted in the first year. Obviously, as you know from doing this for many, many years, in the second and third year, it's the $934,000 plus the addition. So you have to be able to fund the first year and the second and third year as well. So I'm sure you're gonna have plenty of questions regarding this. Why don't I go through and just identify the last few articles here for you, and then give you an opportunity to sit down and look at this. Article 19, limitation on opening negotiations. It's the language from the sheriff's office with no reopeners, we'd rather have a closed contract.
Sorry.
Oh, no, not. The uniform, Article 20 uniform cleaning allowance, I believe this is the current allowance. Article 21 shoe allowance, I believe that's the current shoe allowance. Merit system, article incorporating all the merit system rules and regulations and department policies. And the contract, and then the term of agreement, which is 3 years. Yeah. So this is our entire package with the corrections, with the compression increases on there, increases. Do you want some time to digest before get your questions together? How would you like to handle this going forward?
I'm sorry, Jeff, what page was the just cause language on?
That would be on the page that's in the round filing receptacle.
I would have been disappointed if there was just cause
I was
language.
gonna
You know
say.
that.
I had to give you something to come back on.
I had a question on the compression thing.
Sure.
The last time we did this, you counted FTOs as a promotion. Where's the FTO thing in here?
Never counted FTO as promotion. It was always counted as a special assignment pay, pulled off the base pay and then put back on at the end.
Okay.
That's how we did all of them, the fire, the deputies, they were all done that way. What the only difference was is seniors' dates was a date of promotion, theirs were not. Theirs were all assigned.
It's just a question.
Okay, I just want to make sure you kind of understand how we did that.
Because if you pull it off, the lower your base pay is, and the better your completion is, and then you put it back on again.
Let's talk to our people.
We'll talk to our people for a little bit, just call us a bit.
Whenever you're ready, just come down and talk to us. Thank you.